What's up, guys? It's Cassie and Sara, and today we're talking about the Black Dahlia. I'm Cassie.
I'm Sara, and if you like hearing about murder mysteries, hit that subscribe button and keep on watching. As Cassie said, we are talking about the Black Dahlia, aka Elizabeth Short. The story behind Elizabeth Short's death takes place in January 1947 in Los Angeles, California. She was an aspiring actress, but did not have any big roles during her time in LA prior to her death. The last night that Elizabeth was seen alive was January 9th, 1947, when she was dropped off at the Biltmore Hotel in Hollywood by a married man named Robert Manley that she was spending time with. Elizabeth was missing for 6 days before her body was found on the cold, dreary morning of January 15th, 1947. Her body was discovered by Betty Bersinger and her 3-year-old daughter in an abandoned lot as they were walking to the corner of Norton and 39th. Upon first glance, Betty didn't realize it was a real person. She thought it was a store mannequin that had been thrown out. When she inspected the mannequin more closely, she realized that it was a woman who had been severed in half. Betty quickly went to the nearest phone and alerted the police. When officers Frank Perkins and Will Fitzgerald of the LAPD arrived, they confirmed it was a naked woman who had indeed been cut in half. The Los Angeles Police Department noted that Elizabeth's body had been posed at the crime scene. She was lying on her back with her arms raised above her head and her legs were spread in a supposed display of seductiveness. She had cuts and bruises across her body, and her mouth had been sliced to extended from one ear to the other. The police also noted that because of the rope marks on her wrists, ankles, and neck, they believed that she had been tied down and tortured for days. They also found that there was no blood on the body or near where she was laying, leading them to believe she was murdered somewhere else and later dumped in the lot. After further examination of the body by the coroner, it appeared that Elizabeth was not sexually assaulted. However, because her body was washed clean by the killer, they did not know for sure.
Could you imagine, you're just strolling down the street with your 3-year-old.
3-year-old.
And you see what you think is a mannequin. I mean, when I was doing research, it said that, during this time, and especially in that lot, mannequins were thrown out a lot. All the time. So that's why she thought it was a mannequin. Clearly it wasn't. But she was severed in half.
I know.
But I want to know, how was Elizabeth severed in half? Did you just use a wood saw? An axe? But if it was an axe, she would have been really mutilated.
I think maybe a saw or
a knife. I don't know. I never said. The killer washed her body. That means he's pretty meticulous with his work.
That also makes me wonder, she probably was
sexually
assaulted.
I mean, if he took the time to wash her body, it was either to get his fingerprints off it or to wash away evidence that he did.
Maybe cutting her in half was part of the torture. Maybe, day by day, he, slowly...
cut into her?
Cut into her. So maybe he, cut around her?
Do you think he did it when she was awake?
To torture her...
To torture her, she was awake, but, when he was, cutting her in half, I wonder if she was still conscious, or... Moving on.
A newspaper company by the name of the Herald Express teamed up with the LAPD to search for Elizabeth's killer. Not long after her death, the Herald Express was swamped with anonymous tips about what may have happened. The Herald Express was told of a trunk owned by Elizabeth that contained photos of herself, her friends, and her lovers. They decided to locate the trunk to see if they could find any clues. However, this trunk did not give them any leads. On January 17, 1947, the Herald Express put Elizabeth's photograph on the front page of the newspaper and gave her the name the Black Dahlia. The Black Dahlia was given to her as a joke because she was on a murder mystery called the Blue Dahlia about 9 months prior to her death.
Why did they call her the Black Dahlia, though? Because her hair was black? Why not call her the Blue Dahlia?
I think the Black Dahlia sounds more ominous.
Yeah, but
And
I mean, if you're doing it as, like, a joke or whatever, why not just
probably because she's dead, like the Black Dahlia.
I
know,
guess,
black is, like, kind
death,
of...
symbolizes death, kind of. Yeah. Yeah.
Those who were investigating the murder of Elizabeth Short had two theories as to who the killer was. The first theory was that Elizabeth had never met her killer before she was taken, and then the second theory was that she did indeed know who her killer was. However, the police were almost positive that the true killer was someone she knew. The reason they thought this was because of the lacerations that were on her body, which indicated that the person had a personal vendetta. They believed that the killer knew Elizabeth well and had some type of emotional attachment to her. Others who thought that she did not know her killer, but out of the idea that the killer could have been a necrophiliac, or in other words, someone who liked to spend a lot of time with the victim after they died. On January 23rd, 1947, they received a lead from an anonymous person that he was the killer. He wrote to the editor of the newspaper and told them that he was unhappy with the way the story was being told in the newspaper and would send Elizabeth's belongings to prove who he was. The newspaper considered this tip but continued their search.
Okay, so the police think that it's someone she knew.
Yeah, because of the lacerations.
Yeah, which I also would agree with. Like, and I mean, if she's in LA and like in the industry, like I feel like you probably make a lot of enemies.
Oh, for sure.
Especially in the acting industry. Like, because there's so much competition and just...
Maybe she got a role that another girl was supposed to, and the other girl's boyfriend was like, yo.
Or it was a woman. Or two people. I mean, I would say it's probably more likely that it was more than one person.
Yeah.
Unless it was a man who was, like, strong, because he would have had to torture for 6 days. Or at least have her kidnapped, torture her, cut her in half. I mean, I don't know if a woman could have cut.
Unless this woman was, like, the strongest woman alive. Or it could have been somebody who, like, really liked her, but she didn't give, like, the time of day.
Ooh, like a secret admirer?
Yeah, but she wouldn't give them, like, the time of day. And they were like, if I can't have you, nobody can. And
ooh, I didn't think about that. I just actually watched that episode on the Criminal Minds last night. But yeah, like, she could have had a secret admirer who was like...
Like, there's a possibility she had met this person, but maybe it was just, like, a one-time thing.
Yeah.
And...
Or it was someone she knew who was, like, secretly her secret admirer. Who then, like...
It could also be a woman, you know, maybe a woman liked her and she was, like, not about that life.
Could have been. It's hard to say because there's, again, just like the last story that we talked about, there's not a lot of evidence to even really talk about.
The LAPD did talk with the man Robert Manley who last saw her before she disappeared, but soon crossed him off the suspect list because he passed multiple polygraph tests. The LAPD continued to get anonymous tips, but most of them seemed to be hoaxes. Some messages and personal belongings to Elizabeth that were believed to be sent in by the murderer were washed with gasoline as to remove fingerprints so they could not use them to get ahead in the case. The investigation went on with no real leads. By June 1947, the police had 75 suspects, and by December 1948, they had roughly 192 suspects. Eventually, the LAPD narrowed down the list to about 22 suspects. Even though Robert Manley was not suspected, the LAPD put him back on the list. Many were suspected of Elizabeth's murder. Some were friends of hers, while others were potential murderers in Los Angeles at the time. Another suspect higher on the list was Mark Hansen. According to one of Elizabeth's friends, she had previously fought off sexual advances made by Hansen. Apparently, Hansen had also been the one to find some of Elizabeth's belongings in the trash can near the crime scene. However, for unknown reasons, Hansen was also cleared from the case. As of today, the murder of Elizabeth Short has not been solved and remains as a cold case.
They had a lot of suspects.
A lot of them were probably like friends,
people
family.
who she acted with.
Yeah, acquaintances she like maybe have interacted with. That Mark Hansen though, he sounds suspicious.
Yeah, he does.
Just his name, Mark Hansen.
Mark Hansen.
With Robert Manley. With Robert Manley, he passed multiple polygraph tests.
I know, but what if he's a really good liar? Because he was the last guy to see her alive. And also, think about this. So he was a married man. What if it was his wife that found out that he was seeing Elizabeth? You know, it's possible.
Ooh.
That she found out that
maybe
he was
she hired like somebody.
Like a hitman?
Yeah.
It's possible.
Those vengeful wives.
Well, yeah, she had every right to be. He was out
frolicking his goods.
Yeah.
Man.
Come on, Robert. The anonymous person that sent in her belongings, it had to have been that person. Whoever that person was.
Because they knew to wash it with gasoline.
Yeah, so this person, like we said earlier, like, definitely was very meticulous. Like,
yeah.
Washed her body, completely clean of evidence, no blood left to be seen, washed all of her belongings that he or she sent in.
To get rid of his or her fingerprints.
Yeah, so, I don't know, I feel like it's... I feel like it's Robert Manley or Mark Hansen. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're, like, the only two real people I can, like, look at, but...
Yeah. I feel like that Mark Hansen, he's a
shady guy.
Fishy guy.
So is Robert. I think we come to the conclusion again that we don't know.
We don't know.
But clearly, if nobody else knows, why would we know? We have no background on this, except we did take one criminal justice class, so...
And I barely remember anything from it.
We're not specialists in this, so don't take anything we just said to be true. Like, not even a little bit. Except for the research. I did do the research, so it should be good. Research. If it's not correct, please let me know. Okay, because also, I can't read every article out there. Because that would take me literally a decade. Also, let us know in the comments who you guys think,
you know, tell us your
the Black Dahlia and why. Why do you think they killed the Black Dahlia? So next week's video is going to be about the Zodiac Killer. So if you guys want to know about that, come back next week. That's the Black Dahlia story. Woo. We will see you guys next Friday. Peace! Why is it so hard?